All right, let's get into SLP today. What you want to know about Smooth Love Potion. We'll dive into that deep. My name is Paul Barron. Welcome back to Tech Path. All right, if you're new to the channel, maybe you're wondering what Smooth Love Potion is and how does it apply to the crypto sphere and metaverse, gaming, all that. Essentially, Smooth Love Potion is the vehicle, or we'll call it the token, in which you exchange on Axie Infinity. So if you're out there playing on Axie, have been using SLP both for rewards, and able to actually work within the game itself. So think of it just as your economy, as the dollar for the Axie ecosystem. Now, there's a lot happening though around what Axie Infinity has been trying to do with both the RON token, which is essentially we'll call it the replacement for SLP, and with the economy, which essentially is driven by SLP. And I want to break down their article because this is a huge, I think it's a huge dump of information into the community. And we've had Axie Infinity, Sky Mavis on the show before. We talked to Alexander in depth about this very issue. And they really do a good job in laying out the strategy, how this is going to go forward, what the ramifications are. We're going to break all that down for you guys so you'll understand. So if you're an Axie lover, this is definitely an episode you want to hit on. And if you're in the metaverse or looking at gaming projects, I'm sure you are, then this is the kind of understanding you need to have around projects. And this is a great way to really dive deep. Now, don't forget, we are going to be doing metaverse. We do our metaverse top 20 every week. Now that we have the Crypto Power Index launched, I'll explain a little bit more about that. We are going to look at the chart. We'll take a look at sentiment analysis and amplification on both SLP and Axie Infinity. Before we get to that, let's get to their news, which is upcoming season 20 and economic balancing adjustments. Now, we asked them pretty straightforward in the video and in the interview, how are you guys going to address the whole economic issue of how you were going to handle the SLP problem? And the SLP problem is the valuation and also the burn elements, the aspect of use case, all started to really kind of crumble and break down within the ecosystem. And what they were going to do to fix it, they started to allude to some interesting moves, and they revealed them in this blog post. So adventure mode SLP now is going to be gone. So they're sunsetting, that's reducing to 0. So this includes rewards for first time completion. Daily quest SLP will also be sunset. Arena reward structure will be changed dramatically. This is the big one to reduce SLP rewards, and Axie leaderboard massively expanded. Sub 800 MMR players now will earn 1 SLP per win. And what they want to do there is be considerate for players with weaker Axie. So we're not, adding this back in for now. And I think this is essentially going to move away soon. And then they're considering reworking the energy system to scale more linearly to making additional energy for more accessible and a boosting demand for weaker Axie. So all of this applies to NFTs being utilized in these games. So think about this in economies of any game out there. It just doesn't have to always be Axie. Obviously, for this video, we're talking about Axie in general. But the point is that these game economies are really critical, not only to the players, but also if you are looking at a play and earn and or a play to earn model, this is what makes a token move. It's what gives faith back into a community, in many cases causes those tokens. So whether you're playing the game, you're investing in the NFTs, or maybe you're just stepping back and buying the token, maybe you're doing a little staking on the side, you can do all those things with Axie. Let's dive into the state of the digital nation and what they're saying. So finding balance amongst all of these above dynamics is an ongoing process. We experience the euphoria that comes with incredible growth. They've all seen that, but they've also had this whole, a little bit of uncertainty around this. So they have all felt the pinch, and we've made kind of this whole last few months a little bit difficult for, I think, a lot of the players, which is why we've started to see Axie slide on the sentiment data over the past couple of months. It hasn't been the high flyer that it was pre what's happening right now. In short, we think it's critical to ensure the health of a predictable economy evolves over time. That, I think, is good, and we believe the fastest way to reduce this volatility is for us to come to terms, this is interesting, with our collective responsibilities within Axie and quickly work to build consensus and enable each other's community efforts. So I think the fact that they are kind of drawing a line in the sand and getting this moving and restructuring the game economy, so to speak, is a good move for Axie Infinity. And this is an important move because if you think about game economies and you look at where Axie is and Sky Mavis in general, they're leading the pack. They're setting the standards for a lot of game economies that are out there. In fact, a lot of the people we talk to are building projects that are built around the game economy of what Axie has been able to do so far. So on January 4th, they released their dev journal. This is their economic balancing post with 3 goals: to create a framework of community dialogue around economic balancing, to prepare the community for upcoming changes, and most importantly, which I thought was the good one, is to get community input. And I think this is one that they have to be able to really do and be good at, and that is start to really listen to that community. And I think a lot of the troubles that Axie was facing in December and January could have been avoided had they been able to ramp up quicker. And this is something that I've talked about on the show before, is if you don't have just a master of a game economist inside your ranks that are building it. Now, what Alexander mentioned in the video and the interview we did with Sky Mavis was he talked about a team. And I think this is really important because as you start to see game economies really flourish, teams are going to be very important. So he's talked about this in the past. Inflation of SLP has been very high. That's been the knock on it, with around 4x times SLP being created versus supplied per day than burned, demanded through breeding. That, of course, is because of the growth that we saw in Axie Infinity. And then as we're building the more burn mechanisms, you'll see this below, we're looking at where we can strategically reduce issuance in order to balance. So essentially, they've kind of overinflated their economy. And what they're trying to do right now, if you look at burns versus mints, you can kind of start to see the movement. And this is just one that they point to. There's far more SLP being created each day than is being burned. And that's the issue that they're trying to deal with right now. So obviously that's the key behind any of these game economies, is that as your NFTs, because you don't want to make these projects or these NFTs useless and worthless. That's the whole point of Play to Earn, and one of the reasons that they're doing all these kinds of burn events, which will help. All right, let's get into the adventure. This is the elimination of the adventure mode and the daily quest rewards. Let's start with a brief overview of recent mint rates. So you can kind of see the mint rates, and I'll leave a link to this post right here. But if you just go to the Axie Substack, you can kind of see, and you pull this, right there off the tab right there. So it's pretty easy to do. But you can kind of see the rundown here: quest, PvE, and the PvP, and how it's happening right here is, of course, this was all the way back in November. And you can kind of see the differences that we're still facing. So in short, roughly 40% of SLP is created from an adventure mode, 44% of SLP is created from PvP, and there 14% is minted from players claiming the daily quest. So this is the thing they're trying to get to. In-game rewards should be used to incentivize social activities and improve the ecosystem, and then also they must be earned as a result of skilled activity. So again, going back to just making it more valuable, less inflation, truly trying to create a stable economy. But what I would say, just to be aware of, is I would still say this is a bit of a Band-Aid. It's a good Band-Aid, but it's moving in the right direction. But I still think it is yet to be determined how far this economy growth will go. Let's get into adventure mode. Was originally conceived by way for community to learn how to use their actions or play. It has outlived its purpose as a way for people to earn tokens from the game. It's far more important to use SLP to incentivize skill gameplay in the arena. And we love the ideas of quests. We hope to reintroduce, this is the other one, the quest mechanism in the future through Origin, but will need to basically come in tandem with new burn mechanisms and new features. So they're going to maybe bring it back, but create a way in which the burn mechanisms will obviously be in place, so you don't, again, run into those kind of scenarios of overinflation of these particular NFTs and these tokens. On to this point here, we know that it's a painful medicine. This is kind of an interesting statement. The Axie economy requires drastic and decisive action now, or we risk the total and permanent economic collapse. That would be far more painful. So that, I think, even though a little dramatic, definitely to the point that I think what Axie Infinity and Sky Mavis are trying to do here, and that is get the game in an economic position to where it can really accelerate growth. And when you look at their revamped PVP reward structure, look at the arena leaderboard and the pillar of Axie Infinity, which is kind of what they refer to right here. In season 19, we distributed around 3,000 Axies to the top 1,000 players in the leaderboard. This is a paltry amount compared to the 1.5 million that's distributed to stakers each month and the millions of Axies per quarter that's available in gaming budget allocations. So again, big growth, lots of rewards that are moving into this direction. If you look at this right here, this was the leaderboard just to look at the allocations, so you can kind of see what they were able to get. 17.17% of allocation, 203, all the way down into the total of 117,000 Axies. So good growth there. For season 20, they are expanding the number of leaderboard slots to 300,000 and increased the amount of Axies that they're giving out to 117,000. That's where they're talking about right there. This will, of course, supercharge the competitive Axie scene and create more demand for quality Axie teams in the ecosystem. This equates to a $6 million USD equivalent prize pool for season 20, which is pretty nice. I mean, $6 million that's a pretty significant, even though, and remember, it's still not a global phenomenon in the essence of growth players. It's still under three, I think around under 3 million players. So I think that is a really good opportunity for some really great Axie players. And the other thing that this really kind of boils down to is that it's going to kind of start cutting out the chaff or reducing the amount of lesser valued Axies. We're going to see a lot more burn events that will allow for that to do, whether utilizing the Axie train to get it out of there, or it could start to create a lot more value around building high quality Axies and really building kind of super teams, so to speak, which is going to, my concern there is you may see some super teams start to dominate what some of these leaderboards could look like. So here's the breakdown right here. In addition, we'll be adding a 1 SLP per win for players under 800 MMR, as I talked about earlier. We'll bring some utility to weaker Axies, encourage players to practice even if they're still learning and or having difficulty in the game. And then you can kind of see these rewards right here. So 0 to 999, 1 SLP, all the way up to 1099, 3 SLP. Then you get to 1100, 12, 6 or 5 SLP per rank with a rank default, 1300, 6, all the way up to 2,000 plus, and that, of course, is going to be 12 SLP per win. So again, that's another big reason that's going to incentivize these more masterful play type aspects of what this game could do. Increasing the burn, this is another one. They discussed this in the last month's dev update that they're kind of pushing to this on a long-term basis. Fun of burning mechanisms and economic sinks to the table. This is the list. Special cosmetics and skins. They're going to upgrade Axie body parts. They're going to do some in-game emojis, breeding events, buy-in tournaments, which I thought was kind of interesting, and then Axie naming, which will be more interesting as well. So again, good stuff with all of this, and really does this play into what we're seeing right now with the Smooth Love Potion? Because right now everybody wants to grab it. It's causing the price of Smooth Love Potion to do some funky things, and I'll show you that in our sentiment data here shortly. Because when something like this reacts to the market and also reacts to the community, we start to see a little bit of instability around those kinds of scenarios. So, and everybody's probably going to be asking, should we get it? Should we buy it? My position is still kind of on the fence as a no. Even though if you're looking at a scenario where you might need it for a particular situation, then maybe it makes sense. Let's look here on what they're talking about Origin. It says some players may also be wondering why we haven't released the vertical progression for your Axies. It's a good question. As Axie owners ourselves, we've been patiently waiting for the 2018 upgrade. Simply, they're going with prioritized growth and onboarding millions. So without this approach, it's likely that we would remain small, niche game, few thousand players. It's great that many projects, our aspiration is to onboard over 1 billion gamers into Web3 and change the internet forever. So I like those kind of statements because this tells me that the Sky Mavis team, not that they're not serious, but the point is this is getting to a scenario where they realize what Axie could be for Web3 and kind of the evolution of play and earn gaming. And I think the address to the issue that they're dealing with around economy is spot on. It just needs to continue it to advance. This is the other aspect of this, energy rework. One issue that will arise with the elimination of rewards for adventure mode is that the utility of non-PvP Axies will be decreased. There's also some incentives for players to upgrade to 10 or 20 Axies, so this is going to increase throughput, but it's actually more efficient to split up to 9 Axies into 3 separate accounts. Again, this is going to create more of these kind of team approaches and give them to scholars than it is to buy your 10th one from the marketplace or for the extra energy. So this is again, these are a lot of new strategies that will be developed around this, and I think that is good for an ecosystem that is as flourishing as what we're seeing within the Axie ecosystem. Let's talk about the future, and then we'll jump to the sentiment data, because some of you might just want to, well, hey, is it a good time to buy Axie the token? We'll show you that here in a second. The future, we believe that the economic changes will allow us to start tightening righting the ship and getting the economy moving in the right direction. We know this will be a key to execute on delivering new burn mechanisms. This is the key thing. Burn mechanisms will be super important. These issuance reductions will not be enough to get our economy engine back to full strength. As I said earlier, this is a Band-Aid. They need some more creative burn mechanisms that will allow this economy to get back into it. Listen, it's kind of like a real world, fiat economy. You need mechanisms in which you can stabilize. In most cases, like the Fed, they use interest rates to help stabilize. This essentially is kind of like that for what's happening out there with Axie. Last statement here, it'll be very important for us to share a roadmap of the coming features and economic syncs that will be added as we iterate quickly on the game. So here's my point to Axie buyers, Axie players, enthusiasts out there. Do not sleep on this project. This project is one of those that I think is going to move very quickly, but it's also a very critical time in the management of Sky Mavis. What I mean by that is they have it to lose here. It's kind of one of those games that if you look at great football teams that are just stacked to the brim with great talent and they're likely to win the Super Bowl. But something happens and you get a pick six in the third quarter and now your team is down. That kind of thing. Sorry for the football metaphors. But the point being is that Axie, if they can play through this third quarter, because that's kind of what I feel like. They made the half, they're adjusting at the halftime, which is where they are right now. They're making some adjustments. They've got to be able to deal with what's happening next. And I think as they do it, we could see Axie really start to move the next level. All right, so one thing that we do here on the channel is we use our Crypto Power Index to basically track all of this down. It gives us the insights on sentiment and amplification. We just launched the Crypto Power Index, which you'll be able to get to in the link below. And the way that you use it, if you're over on our site, just Paul Barron Network, just jump over there. Now in my products page right here, I've got the Diamond Circle, which I can jump into, take a look at the Diamond Circle content. And within the content itself, I've got all kinds of things from AMAs, analysis like we've done on Trust Wallet, all that good stuff. Let me pause that right there. This talks a little about the program. But you can get into it very easily. Once you're logged in, you'll see this in your My Products page. And basically, you just want to go over here to your little icon right there, and you're going to see My Library. Click on that, and that's going to bring you to this page right here. And if you want to get into the Power Index, this is where you do it. Now, what good is this for you? There are a lot of things that we do within the CPI. We look at the overall sentiment and market condition at about 8,000 tokens that we have API data on to basically look at sentiment and amplification overall. We break down Bitcoin, Ethereum, the metaverse, altcoins, and then of course gaming, which is huge for what we see in Axie. We give you that every Monday. We start dropping that data for you. Usually by Monday afternoon, all the charts have been updated. The previous and usually, well, always, you've got the overall updated as well. So you'll be able to get to all that good stuff. Just check out the Crypto Power Index below. Now, what I will show you are some cool things. And we're going to look at a couple of scenarios right here, and that is Axie Infinity. Let's take a look at the CoinMarketCap chart real quick, just so you can kind of see. Axie holding out right here on January 17th was trading at $81. All right. Everybody knows what happened. We saw the economy pressure. A lot started to cave in on the system, and Sky Mavis's team had to go to work. And of course, Axie fell to $45. Then we see this the low right there at 46, another low right here at 47. And then right now we are in a corrective adjustment that essentially is happening in tandem with what's going on with Ethereum and Bitcoin. Now, is that always the case? Is Bitcoin typically leads out the market, but a lot of these metaverse and gaming plays start to have a life of their own, and Axie is one of those. Now, we did a video early in January saying that we thought at the time, where Axie was holding it at around $80, that we thought that Axie was going to 3x this year. I'm still holding this, that we could see a near $300 Axie this year in 2022. Now, granted, a lot of things have to happen. Like I said, if they fix this economy and it gets a real fix and they onboard the amount of new players, this is a game that is definitely going to be around for a long time. Let me jump to Smooth Love Potion and I'll show you guys a little bit here on the CPI. So this is just one of our charts. Just a quick rundown on Smooth Love Potion. So last month during January, sentiment was holding in at 71.22 and 67.93 was the amplification score, which is not a good split. Now what's happening, and this is a rarity that you see this, and I wanted to showcase this on the show today, is you have sentiment holding at 73.09, which is up, but amplification is way overperforming. Now what does that tell you? In most scenarios, it tells you that something's getting ready to happen. In this particular situation, it's telling you that you have an economy that is under assault. And there's a lot of people trying to figure out how to utilize this. That's why you're seeing so much action with SLP. Now, hold back for a second, and then let's take a look at Axie. Now, this is the project in terms of an investment that you want to get into. And this was just pulled right before the show, so we just pulled it up. And right there, you've got the sentiment data in December of 77.21, and then a 70.93, and then the latter part of February here, or in February here, right now you've got a 78.61 and a 73.08. You see the movement that's happened right there with Axie. So right now we've got this at 8.3 on buy and monitor. And what I mean by buy and monitor and what an 8.3 is, anything in 8 is usually, that's a buy on a token, at least for me. Remember, we'll do these market movers like this. The idea is we're giving you this data, we'll dive into sentiment, we'll give you some understanding of what's happening, but this is really a do your own research type approach. We want you to go out and understand this. Hopefully we've armed you with the right tools and understand what's happening in the market, but not investment advice. The point being, back to this chart, is when you see this kind of movement right here with Axie, and holding, especially with what you saw back here in January, closing in on 100, and then we saw the fall off, mainly kind of trailing Bitcoin down, and then a massive recorrection that we're holding in right now. That'll be all dependent on how Bitcoin starts to continue to move, but the feeling is that we're adding in the components for Axie and Sky Mavis, so what we needed to do, which is fix the economy, get to a point of where we can start onboarding a lot more players, and build out burn mechanisms to enable that is key. All three of those are on their to-do list now. So it's a big one. I think this is a good move for Axie overall. And in general, I think it's going to be an awesome one. If you just look over here quickly on the cumulative revenues in, let's go down here to take a look at staking, just to give you an example. I mean, you see this right here, this little jump right here. I don't know if I can zoom in on that. Let me try on that. It doesn't quite do it with this chart. But you'll see here, this right here is a big move on staking. And of course, if you have not staked your Axie, guys, you got to go watch our Axie staking video, because this is a big one that you need to be doing right now. It is a feature in which you can really earn some rewards on it. And especially of what we're seeing right now in terms of growth on the project, fixing the economy, all those things, everything's pointing in the right direction that we've been watching for Axie Infinity. It's one of the reasons it's one of my biggest investments, and I continue to really invest heavily into the metaverse and gaming as a whole. All right, you guys are listening in over on the podcast right now. Best thing to do is jump over here to the YouTube channel. It's where you're going to get all these data points. You'll get a chance to see some of the charts that we'll reveal. And of course, you can join the Diamond Circle. The Diamond Circle is what gets you in. It's the gateway to all of the stuff we do here at PBN. And it's free. And we do drop a lot of our analysis inside the Diamond Circle for absolutely free. If you do want to dive deep, jump in the Crypto Power Index and get in on those sentiment chart updates each week. Of course, if you guys want to reach me, it's out on Twitter at Paul Barron. I'll catch you next time right here on TechPath.